Doubt it. Okay. I'm going to pee. Let's watch Fetterman and Oz debate.
Last night, John Fetterman squared off with Mehmet Oz in their first and only debate. Congressional correspondent Rachel Scott was on the scene in Harrisburg. Good morning, Rachel.
George, good morning. The stakes are high and the circumstances are unique. John Fetterman, the Democrat, is still recovering after suffering a stroke, and even his campaign will tell you this is unprecedented. Never before in such a high-profile race has closed captioning been used during a debate, and Fetterman addressed it head-on. From the start of the debate, Democrat John Fetterman cut to the chase, directly addressing what he called the elephant in the room.
I had a stroke. He's never let me forget that. And I might miss some words during this debate, mush two words together, but it knocked me down, but I'm going to keep coming back up.
Behind the moderators, two big monitors, questions and answers were closed captioned, so Fetterman could read them to help with lingering auditory processing issues that doctors say are normal in recovery. Nearly 6 months after his stroke, Fetterman would not promise to release his medical records.
To me, for transparency is about showing up. My doctor believes that I'm fit to serve, and that's what I believe is appropriate.
In their first and only debate, the candidates on the attack.
It's the Oz rule. He's on TV and he's lying.
Oz hitting back.
This is the only debate I could get you to come to talk to me on, and I had to beg on my knees to get you to come.
Fetterman asked if he supports President Biden's student loan forgiveness program.
It's about supporting and helping, young earners, young students to give them a break.
His campaign acknowledges ongoing auditory processing challenges are real. But on a major issue of the night, abortion, Fetterman drawing a clear contrast.
I want women, doctors, local political leaders, letting the democracy that's always allowed our nation to thrive to put the best ideas forward so states can decide for themselves.
If you believe that the choice for abortion belongs between you and your doctor, that's what I fight for.
While Dr. Oz zeroed in on rising crime.
We have taken away the ability of police to do their job, and that's on John Fetterman.
He has never made any attempt to try to address crime during his entire career, except showing up for photo ops here in Philadelphia.
The two candidates telling voters why they are the right man for the job here in Pennsylvania.
I started as a GED instructor back in Braddock over 20 years ago because I believe it's about serving Pennsylvania, not about using Pennsylvania.
I'm a surgeon. I'm not a politician. We take big problems, we focus on them, and we fix them. We do it by uniting, by coming together, not dividing.
And so in a sign of
I'm glad that they fucking edited it like a little bit better though. They didn't fuck him over. Like I mentioned yesterday, when I was watching this live, I was feeling some type of way. I was in my feelings. But I ended it by telling you that debates don't matter, the clips do. And I thought that mainstream media would be ripping him way fucking harder, but they were definitely more fair to him than I thought that they were going to. Now, this is not going to change Fox News from going fucking crazy. And I'm sure CNN will go fucking crazy too. But goddamn.
just how important this race is. Republicans are pouring more than $6 million in the final stretch to support Dr. Oz. The political group behind it is linked to Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell. One senior Republican official putting it this way, saying, quote, if we win Pennsylvania, we win the majority. George, they are calling this a must-win race.
It is one of the key ones. Okay, Rachel, thanks very much. Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here.
There was a lot that happened tonight. We've been waiting for this debate. It's been, will they debate? Will they not debate? Now it's here. And the question was, how would he perform given the stroke that he experienced back in May? He actually addressed it off the top in part. Let's play it.
And let's also talk about the elephant in the room. I had a stroke. He's never let me forget that. And I might miss some words during this debate, mush two words together, but it knocked me down, but I'm going to keep coming back up. And this campaign is all about, to me, is about fighting for everyone in Pennsylvania that ever got knocked down, that needs to get back up, and fighting for all forgotten communities all across Pennsylvania that also got knocked down, that needs to get back up.
Ooh.
Think
about that, and the idea of how he turned it into a discussion really about, look, I am the...
You said, ooh. goddamn, that was like one of the better statements that he had. So that's not a good start. This coverage is not going to be positive, it seems.
Every person. One, was that effective to you? I mean, that wasn't the moment people were talking about him struggling, frankly.
We'll show those in a minute.
But the idea of talking about it in that context, you were waiting for this debate. Was that persuasive to you as a way to set the stage?
No, it really wasn't. I mean, I thought somebody should have invoked the mercy rule about 20 minutes into the debate. Fetterman.
Love when CNN is like, we're so fucking fair and balanced, which is why we're going to have every Republican operative on to discuss to discuss a conversation between, the Republican and the Democrat. Sorry.
In my view, I don't know if it was the stroke or if he's just a lousy debater or if he doesn't understand the issues. He was flustered. He was confused. He should not have been out there. I've had a number of people say, why is this guy even on the ballot right now after that? Now, I don't know that debates matter that much, but if people watch that, they're going to question his capacity to serve. The bar was set very low. It should have been set lower.
Well, on that point, let's say the right. I mean, you talked about this too, Allison. The bar was set so low in the sense of, I mean, Dr. Oz, you know him because he's a television personality.
Right, he knows
presence.
how to do TV. He's been doing it for 2 decades,
Yeah.
and that's what John Fetterman was saying. But this was, I think, in a different category. It sounds like. So let's listen.
Yeah, you had someone who is so good and is built for that fucking type of fast pace. Here are my talking points. I'm going to get it out in 60 seconds because that's what TV teaches you. Go up against a guy who, even if he was at 100%, even if he didn't have a stroke, would have a hard time responding to those questions as great as Dr. Oz is going to be. That's just the truth.
Listen to a moment where John Fetterman seemed to struggle.
I'm also having to talk about something called the Oz rule, that if he's on TV, he's lying. He did that during his career on his TV show. He's done that during his campaign about lying about our record here. And he's also lying probably during this debate.
I want to bring civility.
Wait, that wasn't bad. What the fuck? Wait, what? I mean, dude, I was fucking losing my mind yesterday, but that was like pretty coherent. What the fuck? Why are they clipping his best moments and going, wow, he sucks ass here? Holy shit.
Balance. All the things that you want to see because you've been telling it to me on the campaign trail. And by doing that, we can bring us together in a way that has not been done of late. Democrats, Republicans talking to each other. John Fetterman takes everything to an extreme.
And then about to be like, wow, isn't Dr. Oz wonderful? Look how he's merging both parties together. We need more of that and less of John Fetterman, who has a bad brain and we hate him. Also, we're liberals.
And those extreme positions hurt us all.
Okay, Alyssa, your thoughts as you watched that?
So listen, Dr. Oz has the advantage of a career in TV. He's an excellent communicator, but that wasn't why he won tonight's debate. He hit on every major issue that voters are focused on.
Oh! She literally said it! Oh my God! She said he won not because he was better at speaking, but because he addressed all the best points. What the fuck? By the way, look at the lower third. Look at the lower third. Former Trump White House communications director saying Dr. Oz, Trump's friend and Trump's candidate, won the debate because he hit all of the interesting points. I love how fair and balanced this is, man. I fucking love CNN. So fair, so balanced.
Economy, crime in Pennsylvania, huge issue, energy. He had substance behind him, and there was this unifying general election message. I want to be careful because I think some of the most consequential leaders in history have had different kinds of disabilities. I don't think it should preclude someone from serving.
But what we saw today was someone who is not ready to be in office. And the lack of transparency leading up to this, I think, actually shocked people watching it. Like, I found it extremely hard to watch. And the question that I found myself asking is the way that he's struggling a result of the stroke, or is it because he doesn't have a grasp on the issues? He was asked a very direct question about his position on fracking. He could not explain why he fundamentally 180 changed his position on it. And the voters deserve to know that.
I want to play that because honestly, and Tobin, I want to hear your take on this as well, because what we've played so far, frankly, for the audience who may have not have seen these debates, I don't know that it's conveying that level of difficulty answering the questions as much as we're talking about it right now. I want you to
This being played on CNN, by the way, is infinitely more damaging than anything Fox News could cut. I'll say it. Because CNN is targeting the liberals and conservatives. Fox News is just targeting the conservatives. You don't expect Fox News to have even a shred of decency when covering a Democratic debate. Okay? When covering a debate between a Democrat and a Republican. But CNN is presenting themselves as the unbiased, objective, unfiltered analysis in news, and then doing this right-wing propaganda. It is significantly more nefarious. It is insidious. It is awful, and it will be more damaging.
respond, Tobin, but let's play the moment that you're saying, Alyssa, that really is suggestive and illustrative of the point you're making.
I always believe that independence with our energy is critical, and we can't be held, ransom to somebody like Russia. I've always believed that energy independence is critical, and I've always believed that, and I do support fracking.
I do want to clarify something. You're saying tonight that you support fracking, that you've always supported fracking.
By the way, you can individually say his debate performance was bad too, because it was. It wasn't just bad on the basis of him not being able to clearly communicate his thoughts. It was bad because he had no clear-cut answer to something that he is coming across as inconsistent on. That is a lack of adequate debate prep, or maybe his disability, either or. Okay? But yes, it is not unreasonable to expect more from someone who is running for such a profoundly important position. Okay? He should have absolutely had hammered in a reasonable counter to that talk, to that point that was going to come up. If you're Herschel Walker, you have an adequate... Yeah, I know my second monitor is showing. It's nothing. It's just notifications. If you're Herschel Walker, you know the abortion thing is going to come up. You should at least have either a nuanced answer for it or a way to deflect away from the main point, which Herschel Walker did. And unlike John Fetterman, I think Herschel Walker also quite literally has a genuine medical disability that renders him unable to serve. I don't think that John Fetterman does. I think John Fetterman has auditory processing issues, which he can very clearly overcome. But, of course, the debate structure, format, 15-second answers for people saying, like, John Fetterman, Dr. Oz is saying you're fat and deserve to die. How do you respond? 12 seconds. Like, that is not a good fucking format for anyone. You know what I mean? That's not a good format for normal people. That's certainly a really bad format for someone who's not getting the adequate accommodations for his, post-stroke recovery period. You know what I mean? That's just like, that's always going to be stacked against him. But on top of that, I think that he just did not, he just didn't do a decent enough job in certain issues, and this was one of them, for sure.
Fracking, but there is that 2018 interview that you said, quote, I don't support fracking at all. So how do you square the two?
I do support fracking. And I support fracking, and I stand and I do support fracking.
That's so bad. That was like, that's the clippable
Yeah,
moment
the
of the
fracking
night.
answer that he gave was one of the lower moments in a generally tough performance. I think the clip that you played immediately before that, him sort of trying to lay out the Oz rule, was an attempt to guard against what he knew was going to be a lot of incoming fire he was going to take. Oz obviously came in attempting to portray him as radical. It was very clearly going to be the strategy. I think he knew he was not going to have the nimbleness to be able to respond to those in real time, and so was trying to make a sort of blanket effort to create an issue around honesty and the sort of validity of Oz's attacks. But, for anyone who's coming into this totally undecided, if you drop a voter into Harrisburg who had no engagement with this beforehand, it's hard to see them coming away terribly, terribly convinced by Fetterman there.
And we should mention that he was using closed captioning. So he was able to read the questions and the words rather than just hearing them, because he's admitted he has auditory processing issues now because of the stroke. And, Charlie, it's interesting. I've interviewed him many times as lieutenant governor, and he sounded different before the stroke. I mean, in the interviews, he was much more sort of clear-spoken than what I'm hearing now. Here's a moment where they're talking about their differences on.
Yeah, no shit. I mean, the point is, like, he's going to get back to that, though. You should at least say that he has the possibility of getting back to that.
The economy. So let's play that.
I can make the difficult decisions, as you do in the operating room as a surgeon. I'll make them cutting our budget as well, to make sure we don't have to raise taxes on a population already desperately in pain from the high inflation rate.
He has never met an oil company that he doesn't swipe right about. He has never been able to stand up for working families all across Pennsylvania. We must push back. Inflation has hurt Americans and Pennsylvania's families, and it has given the oil companies record profits.
I'm glad you played that, Allison, though. I mean, just for your answer, because I feel like we've been hearing a lot about all the things he did wrong. And I have, no skin in the game in this particular race, but I'm glad we played something that did demonstrate. I didn't think that it was something that was so problematic compared to the juxtaposition that we showed earlier.
Well, it just seemed like these answers were not particularly coherent. And I'm being kind when I say that. On energy, Pennsylvania's the second largest gas-producing state in the nation. I wanted to hear him explain his evolution. He couldn't do it. I support fracking. Well, he didn't, but he couldn't explain it. We wanted to hear him talk about crime and his role on the Board of Pardons. And I didn't hear anything that explained his rationale for some of the decisions, highly questionable decisions that he made there. He wasn't able to articulate what it was that he stood for. And that's what was really troubling to me. And again, I almost feel very sorry for him that, he's in a bad way. But as a voter, I'm looking at this saying, how can I vote for somebody who I don't think is ready to do the job?
Well, what do you think, Tobin? I'm
Bullshit.
curious, because you worked for, the Vice President Joe Biden.
Dude, listen. This, of course, as a Republican, fast-paced 30-second quick return clippable moments being the main indicator of whether or not you're going to serve a purpose in Congress is, of course, going to help the Republican Party, because they don't give a fuck. They'll put a guy like Dr. Oz in a position. They'll put Donald Trump in the top seat, right? They don't care. And yeah, the more telegenic you are, the better you are as a leader. That's bullshit. Look at Donald Trump. It's fucking insane when one party has no prior experience, right? And the other only has prior experience that indicates how he fucking rides or dies for Pennsylvania, and that's your analysis? You're a piece of shit. Whoever gets a better fucking 30-second quip is going to lead better is a psychotic way to fucking operate. But unfortunately, a lot of people are aesthetics focused. Now, when I'm upset about that, I'm upset about the structure that has made it so that 30-second clips are what makes people think that you will be good at legislating, right? This guy loves that shit. He loves that shit. He relies on that shit. That's why they're pumping it with fucking dumbass people like Dr. Oz. That's why they're pumping their lineup with people who can speak to the fucking masses in 30 seconds.
at the time. And truth be told, he was criticized at times for not being as nimble as he once was, obviously different reasons. He was criticized for the way in which he would articulate certain points. And there was always a bit of wind in the face of then candidate Biden on that very point. When you're looking at it from that perspective, do you see the same concerns that they're talking about?
I think the strengths of President Biden as a campaigner line up in some ways with the strengths that
8 minutes and not a single fucking conversation about Dr. Oz. Nice bathroom. That's a good call out. 8 minutes. Not a single word on Dr. Oz. Not a single word on his like controversies. The fact that he was literally like called into questioning by the government for peddling fucking wares, snake oil. Him being out of touch. 8 minutes. And there is not a single fucking mention of Dr. Oz. I love how fair and balanced it is. His inconsistencies on fracking personally, his inconsistencies on abortion personally, none of that. That's awesome.
That Fetterman has still as a campaigner, despite his impairments. I think he connects at the level of values with voters. I think his campaign is connected or made that a very intentional focus. His kind of blue collar branding, I think, does make some of the lack of polish a little bit forgivable to some of the voters who are inclined to support him. And I think, frankly, in this debate, despite what was, I think objectively a rough performance by Fetterman, people who were inclined to be sympathetic to one candidate or the other, I think probably came away with enough to sort of reinforce.
You don't think it's
where
changed
they
the
were.
momentum?
I mean, given how many people genuinely watch these things, it's hard for me to see this, being a big inflection point in the polling, given how tight things are. I mean, negative partisanship's very powerful. I think people have a lot of reasons to be where they are. This is the battle for control of the Senate.
Dr. Oz didn't have a stroke 6 months ago. Hassan, who cares about his controversies? I certainly don't. No one cares about their past unless they're talking about Hillary L. Clinton. Wait, what? You okay?
I think even more than the competence of the candidate, that's going to be a decisive factor.
To put a finer point on this discussion, Joe Biden's very prone to gaffes. I've been critical of gaffes and misstatements and sometimes struggling to get, different sentences out. But I've never been concerned that he has a grasp on the policy issues, even if I disagree with his policies. This was a candidate where I was genuinely unclear if he understood how to address crime, how to address the economy and inflation.
Why?
And then when he did...
Why? Wait. Dr. Oz has no experience and has never brought up clear-cut policy proposals on how he's going to combat inflation or how he's going to do more fracking even. He just says the line, you fucking dumbass. Dr. Oz addressed zero of those things last night. He addressed zero of those things. But he came across better than John Fetterman because he's a TV guy.
Try to lob attacks on Oz. They didn't land. It didn't seem like he had a full grasp. He went after him on he wants to cut Medicare and Social Security. Oz was ready for it, and he wasn't able to articulate. So I'm not a Pennsylvania voter, but the momentum was very, very clearly on Oz's side here.
We should note that there's already been over 640,000 pre-election votes that have already been cast.
I'm one of them.
And you're one of them. Yeah. And 73% have gone, they think, to Democrats versus 19% to Republicans.
They should ask him. They should ask him right now, who'd you vote for, then, motherfucker? Why are you here?
And so if it's the idea that, look, the debates don't matter, I wonder to what extent this works. But there has been a really big issue, as we talked about this a lot, on the issue of immigration. I mean, for those issues that have not usually been the talking points in the state of Pennsylvania compared to other places, they addressed that point tonight. Listen to this.
I understand what legal immigration offers us, but the completely porous, open nature of our border, which John Fetterman supports, has created a humanitarian crisis with cartels profiting with human trafficking operations. They take the money, they buy narcotics.
Why is immigration relevant in Pennsylvania? Immigration is relevant in Pennsylvania. as a positive. Hazleton is a great example of a fucking town that quite literally was destitute, broke as fuck, no business whatsoever, and turned around over the course of like the past 10 years as a consequence of both documented and undocumented immigrants moving there. That's hilarious. It is hilarious that Pennsylvanians talk about immigration as a negative because Tucker Carlson talks about Hazleton as a negative. They will literally, how do you know this, internet man? Bitch, I know everything. The irony, of course, is that that town and the original white population of the town despises the change, regardless of the fact that the town became vibrant again. It's not doing incredibly well, but ultimately it's better than fucking completely like a 2-horse town with nothing.
Products from China and bring that into our country, and it's making every state a border state. Pennsylvania is already a border state because we're top 3 in the country in fentanyl overdoses.
I believe that a secure border can be compatible with compassion.
Hilarious that he said that, by the way. That's a self-own. I wonder if CNN will bring that up. I wonder if CNN will bring up the fact that Dr. Oz said Pennsylvania is already a border town because it's top 3 in fentanyl overdoses. But it's not a border town. So why is it top 3 in fentanyl overdoses? It almost feels like there's got to be another underlying reason there. Much to think about. I wonder what it is. Must be the immigrants. You fucking idiot! Only in America, where motivated reasoning and biases are so fucking strong that you can literally look at a situation that owns your own point of view. Okay? You can literally look at a situation that diminishes the argument, okay? And still use it as though it's pro your argument. He said correlation is causation. No, that's the irony. The irony in that situation is if you look at it as correlation is causation, you would realize that that means that there's another underlying factor. I'm saying he's using faulty logic, but also faulty logic that would normally undermine his argument. That's the hilarious part of this. Because if you were to say correlation is causation, then you can't make the fucking argument that like Pennsylvania is top 3 in fentanyl overdoses because it's part of the border. Because it's not a part of it's not a border town to fucking Mexico. Which means it's got to be something else.
I believe we need a comprehensive and bipartisan solution for immigration. That's what I believe. I don't ever recall in the Statue of Liberty did they say, take our tired, huddled masses and put them on a bus and use cheap political stunts about them.
What did you think, Charlie? That was a good.
That was his best answer. That was one of his better answers of the night. But again, I'm just still astounded. I'm still stunned.
It's a border state of Canada. Nobody cares.
Tonight.
Shut up.
And that and this is
nobody cares about Snow Mexico.
By the way, I was one of the people. And this is a big state. There should be at least 2 debates, probably 3. One in the Philadelphia market, Pittsburgh market, and like tonight in Harrisburg. But he didn't want to debate for an obvious reason, and we witnessed it tonight.
You're right. There's a lot to cover within these debates. She was fine.
Let's take a look at Fox News' coverage and how it differs from CNN. Maybe by not too much.
They're really talking about the lockdowns in Michigan because people are accusing Gretchen Whitmer of locking them down too long, our kids out of school too long. In New York, the focus was really on crime. And with Fetterman, because he suffered that stroke about 5 months ago, everyone was tuning in to see if he was going to be able to handle himself properly.
Right, because only one debate. It was last night in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And so much is on the line because statistically they are in a dead heat. And the question was, how would Mr. Fetterman do after having had the stroke. And of course, his campaign came out a couple of days ago and said, don't expect him to do really well because this is Dr. Oz's department. Dr. Oz has been on TV for 20 seasons. He's going to be great. Well, as it turns out, we're going to play you some.
He has the experience. He's lieutenant governor.
Well, yeah, for a term, that's right. And so the big question is, how recovered was he? And this morning, the headlines are not positive for him. He did not do well. It was hard to watch. The very first words out of his mouth were "good evening." Rather, the first thing he said.
He said good night, you fucking idiot. Are you stroking out, you dumb motherfucker? You old bitch, shut the fuck up. Bitch, you can't be talking shit about a dude's auditory processing while your old bitch ass is unable to do the one fucking job you got. You've been on TV for longer than I've been alive and you can't read a fucking piece of paper? Shut the fuck up about other people's auditory processing problems. You old bitch. Fuck you and your dumbass son, douchey. Goofy motherfucker, dude. Say good evening. Shut the fuck up. Shut up. Retire.
Came out was hi, good night, everybody, rather than good evening, good night. It sounds like the end. Sounded like a mistake.
Let's take a look at that moment
And his
almost right there, and the
flip-flopping on
flip-flopping
fracking.
on fracking.
I've always supported fracking, and I always believe that independence with our energy is critical, and we can't be held, ransom to somebody like Russia.
I must correct the record.
You're saying.
No, it was, dude, listen. It was definitely the stroke. Okay? It was 100% the stroke, but also the fact that he was fucking nervous. Okay? It did not help that he was not only nervous, but he didn't get like adequate debate training, clearly. Okay? But he was also incredibly fucking nervous. Nervous is a possible consequence of not getting adequate media training. Okay? That's it. You'd be nervous too? Well, you're not running for Pennsylvania Senate, man.